Hey guys, finally getting around to creating my Ultimate Reset review. It's about a week after my last day, and so what I thought I'd do is just go through some of the pros and cons of the program that I felt or saw during the 21 days of the Ultimate Reset. Uh, just to kind of recap, I did end up losing 10 pounds by the scale. Whether or not that was water, muscle, fat, I can't really say for sure. I didn't have a very big difference in body fat percentage drop. So, you know, presumably a lot of that was just water and waste, which is a good thing. As far as my before and after blood test comparisons, that's a whole nother story dealing with insurance, and I'd rather not really get into it. But just to be honest, I have not gotten my blood work done since I've been off of the reset, and I likely will not, just due to the insurance debacle that I ended up having to go through. So unfortunately, I won't have those numbers to really provide you for a comparison. But generally, overall, felt really good at the end of the 21 days. I did work out the day after the reset was over, and I did feel like I had lost some strength in general, but having not worked out in 21 days, that's, I guess, to be a little expected. I'm already day 4 into the Body Beast program, and I really feel like, for the most part, I've gotten back to where I was as far as strength-wise. I don't really feel like I've lost too much since I've started that program, and I'll keep posting reviews on that weekly, probably. So workouts are going well, and the 3 or 4 days after the reset, I just kind of did some random workouts. Really no heavy lifting of weights, mostly body weight movements, and some cardio. So again, felt really good afterwards. Still drinking quite a bit of water daily, probably taking in about 4 liters, 3.5 to 4 liters a day. And so that's going well. Still having frequent trips to the bathroom, which that's fine, because right now I'm, adding some supplements and whatnot, so I needed to take in quite a bit of water. So overall, really good program, a great variety of food and introduction to new foods that you might not have had in the past. Of course, the supplements are there. It's hard to really know personally how those supplements affected or didn't affect my results, but I stuck with the way that they were laid out in the nutrition guide and the program guide, and so that's what you had. I had lost 10 pounds, and I will just tell you right now, I weighed myself this morning, and I was at 155, I believe, when I finished, and this morning I was back up to 160. So that extra intake of calories and water and supplements that I've been using this week, obviously I've gained quite a bit of that back. So, but that's to be expected. So pros and cons. I'm going to try and go in order as much as possible. Pros, I'm going to start with pros first. Pros, introduction to new food. This program, almost every meal that I had was something new, something different. There were a couple meals that I just could not find the ingredients that I needed to make the particular meal, so I didn't get to experience every recipe in the nutrition guide. But other than that, basically every meal that I had, of course there was some overlap. You'd have a dinner one night, and then you'd have leftovers of that for lunch the next day. But anytime you were making something new, you did get introduced to new foods. No workouts, of course, that's a bonus if you aren't used to working out, but for me it was I put it in the pros, but it's kind of a con depending on your perspective. So no working out for 3 weeks. Woohoo! Um, I did still maintain my sleep schedule, so that I didn't kind of get lazy in that respect. So I was up at 5 a.m. every day, still doing some rehab or physical therapy on the shoulder, so that I kept my routine consistent. The recipes that were included were really, really easy to follow and prepare. Nothing was overly complicated, and they described exactly how to make each one of the recipes really well. So even if you're not a, 5-star chef, you can make these meals pretty easily. And there were some times that I had to have my wife prepare some of the meals. And she did a great job just picking up the book and making the meals as they were laid out. So very easy to follow recipes. The food that you have to purchase for the reset, for the most part, it was pretty available. There were maybe 3 to 5 items that I had trouble finding. Now, I typically shop at like Walmart or Meijer, so not your traditional grocery-only stores. So there could have been a factor there. If I'd have gone to like a Kroger or Arch or Whole Foods or something like that, I may have been able to find those particular items. But for the most part, everything that's in the shopping guides or the shopping lists that are for the reset were pretty easy to find. I did not follow this, but I thought I'd mention it as a pro. If you're thinking about transitioning to a vegan or flexitarian diet, this would be a great way to get started. So I'm back to eating meat proteins and haven't had any problems with digestion since I've done that. But if you're trying to move to a 100% vegan diet or even a flexitarian diet where you're just having white meats, this would be a great program to kind of get you going in that direction. So definitely think about using at least the nutrition aspect of it, maybe not the supplements, but using the nutrition as it's laid out with the different weeks and how you kind of phase into that vegan or flexitarian diet for you. I did have pretty high amounts of energy, or at least I felt that way. I wake up 5 a.m. and generally I'm kind of dragging to get out of bed, but I felt like during that reset I was able to kind of jump out of bed and I was ready to go. I'm kind of back to that where I lay there for a few minutes and mentally prepare myself to get out of bed, but that's just probably because I'm working out a little bit harder or at all compared to where I wasn't before. So those are the things that you do see as a result of being on the reset. Last bit on the pros: improved digestion. I generally have never had a problem with digestion, but this program kind of really put almost a clock on my digestion. So if you have digestion problems, I think that this program could be something that could alleviate or make that a little bit better for you. So those are the pros that I found. Here are a few of the cons. Of course, everyone has different opinions, but these are the cons that I put together, so try to be fair here. Number one, I would say, is the schedule. If you look at the nutrition guide and the way the program is laid out, there's no set time of the day that you have to do the meals and the supplements and then the meals again, but there are time lapses that you have to kind of abide by. So you'd have breakfast at, let's say, 7 a.m. Well, you had to plan ahead to have your supplements a half hour before you ate breakfast, and then it was a 2-hour wait, and then your supplements again, and then another half-hour wait, and then your lunch, and then a 2-hour wait. So it was just kind of you really had to make sure that your schedule was planned ahead and you accounted for the supplements and how they needed to be taken in conjunction with your meals. Next one, food prep. Again, the meals were very easy to make and the recipes were easy to follow, but there's a lot of food prep, a lot of dicing, a lot of cutting, a lot of cleaning of vegetables. And matter of fact, I made it through the entire 21 days, almost every day, chopping on the cutting board for 10, maybe 15 minutes at a time, and never once cut myself. Yesterday, cut myself. And I was just cutting up some peaches, to put in my oatmeal or something. Totally sliced my finger. But so you will get good at cutting food, vegetables primarily, but the food prep involved is time consuming. So there's a trade-off, right? You aren't working out, but you are putting in almost that same amount of time in food prep. So be prepared to be in the kitchen. The supplements, it kind of goes back to that schedule that I mentioned earlier. You do have to kind of stay on top of the supplements, and they only give you exactly what you need in order for every 21 days. So you have to make sure you're taking them on time, taking them every day. And again, the alkalinize, as I mentioned in some of my earlier videos, was pretty hard to get my mind over the fact how bad it smelled, and it really didn't taste that bad. But once I introduced the cranberry juice to that, it didn't have much of a problem. Food proportions versus the meal. So generally the recipes were laid out in that you would make enough for 1 or 2 portions. And I think they did that because they assumed that you might be doing it with your spouse or with somebody else. And so there were times where I know I was eating more than what was supposed to be eaten based on the recipe. And that was sometimes by design because, like I said, you'd have dinner and then the same thing for lunch the next day. But I kind of felt like there was some miscalculations on, if you're really trying to use this program to lose weight, that the portions and the way you were preparing the recipes could have been a little bit better. So that's my 2 cents on that. I would suggest that because I have a family of 4 kids and my spouse, this program is very trying and difficult to handle the schedule of the meals, especially if you have a family-oriented dinner where your kids aren't really into what you're cooking and your wife or your spouse isn't either. That tends to create, you're preparing one meal for yourself and then the rest of the family is eating something totally different. So we manage that, but it is something to consider because you're not only spending the money to prepare all the meals for the reset, but then because no one else is having them, you're still spending the same amount of money on regular groceries if you have a family or someone else. So keep that in mind. And then the other thing I would kind of go along with this is that I would say that this program would be very difficult for someone who is just kind of a cold turkey, I'm stopping what I'm doing and starting this program. And I think a lot of that has to do with the food prep and the portion sizes and control, just because again it is somewhat strict, at least if you want to have the results that that they advertise. I think it would be a little bit tricky and tough for someone who's kind of new to getting involved with nutrition and fitness, that this program, while it's a great way to get started, I think it's a little bit tough for folks like that. So if you're new to something where you've never done, planning out your meals and making sure you're only taking the portions that are suggested, I maybe wouldn't start with this program. I would maybe ease into something for a month or what have you, and then consider this program. And then the last bit is cost. The supplements themselves, I actually don't have the exact cost, but I want to say it was close to $200 for the supplements in the program, nutrition guide and all that. And then you have your cost of the groceries. Now they did go down as each week progressed, so you'd have, the first week was quite a bit more expensive because of the need for all the kind of staples, but you did use quite a bit of those through the following 2 weeks. So the next week you were just getting more fresh food, so the cost of the groceries went down. And then the third week was quite a bit less. So although I did find that I had to go out to the grocery store 1 or 2 extra times to get a couple extra things, and that was just because of our certain circumstance that the kids were eating some of my fruit, or I just couldn't find something that day, or they were out of it, so I had to go and get a couple things. Not a big deal. So that's pretty much it for the pros and cons. Again, great program for the recipes. I'm gonna be using some of the recipes that are in the program. Matter of fact, I'm still having the sweet potatoes with the olive oil and the Himalayan salt. Those are really good, and the nutrition guide is something that you can always go back to and use some of the recipes that are in there. So great program overall, and definitely consider it if you're wanting to transition into something more healthier than you currently are, and or if you're like me, where you need to take a break in between some programs. Maybe you've been going hard for, let's say, a year or 6 months, and your body just needs a break. This is a great program to fill that void. You're not working out, but you're still giving your body the nutrients and the supplements that you wouldn't get if you were just kind of laying on the couch. So that's pretty much it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks.